Have you ever had that feeling of being an observer behind your own eyes, watching a version of yourself interact, smile, and nod? This is not a flaw in your personality. It is simply that there comes a time when your yes to others becomes a deafening no to yourself. This no that rumbles deep within you is not an act of rebellion. It is the sound of your true being awakening. This feeling of exhaustion weighing you down, this impression of being an inexhaustible resource for others but depleted for yourself, is the direct result of this conflict. You have learned to be the pillar, the comforting shoulder, the ever-available solution. You have become a safe harbor where all ships come to shelter, but your own remains on the high seas, facing the storm alone. This generosity, this empathy that defines you, has become a gilded cage. You give until you forget yourself. You erase yourself to make room for others, and in the silence of the night, you wonder who that person is looking back at you in the mirror. This feeling of emptiness is not a sign that you are broken. It is quite the opposite. It is proof that your soul is alive, and that it is fighting for you. The great psychologist and explorer of the soul, Carl Jung, firmly believed that these states are not pathologies to be eradicated. He saw them as sacred calls from our unconscious. For Jungian psychology, this fatigue of being oneself for others is not a symptom to be treated, but an invitation. It is your deepest being, yourself, begging you to stop looking for yourself outside and to finally begin the greatest journey, the one that leads to yourself. This is not a simple feeling. It is a certainty that rumbles within you, a silent truth that has settled in the core of your being, in the deafening calm that follows a day spent smiling, saying yes, conforming. You have given pieces of yourself so often and so generously that you wonder what is left for you. This realization is neither a mistake nor a whim. It is the first echo of a deep call, the catalyst for a revolution that is just waiting to be born. It often begins with a dull pain, that of realizing that the path you were walking was not yours, but the one traced by the expectations of others. You had become an expert actor in a play written by someone else, and the applause could no longer drown out the emptiness settling backstage in your soul. It is there, in this crack, that the light breaks through. A question, simple yet terrifying, emerges. What if, for the very first time, I chose myself? This question is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of spiritual survival. In Jungian psychology, one could see this as the moment when your true self, your most authentic essence, begins to knock at the doors of your persona, that social mask we all wear. The mask has become too rigid, too suffocating. The self demands air. It demands life. This is the initial spark, the moment when you stop seeking your worth in the reflection of others' eyes and dare to seek it within yourself. To choose yourself is to dare an act of immense courage, that of turning your gaze away from the external world, so noisy and demanding, and plunging it into the silence of your inner world. You have long believed that answers, validation, happiness were to be found outside, distributed by others like rewards. And now you understand. You have always been the source. This path inward requires embracing a period of solitude. Our society has taught us to fear solitude, to see it as a failure, an abandonment. But you must redefine it. This solitude is not an emptiness. It is a sanctuary. It is the sacred space where you can finally lay down your arms, remove your armor, and heal the wounds you have ignored for so long. Think of this solitude as an artist's studio. It is there that you, the sculptor of your life, can finally work on your most precious masterpiece, yourself. Away from the noise of criticism and unsolicited advice, you can finally hear the subtle melody of your deep desires. Decipher the messages from your unconscious. This creative solitude is the fertile ground on which you will build the solid foundations of your new existence. An existence aligned, no longer with the desire to please, but with the call of your soul. It is a necessary crossing of the desert to reach the promised land of your authenticity. This inner journey, this decision to choose yourself, has a name in depth psychology. The great explorer of the soul, Jung, called it the process of individuation. To choose oneself is nothing other than to consciously embark on this path. Individuation is a lifelong journey, the process by which a being becomes the complete and unified individual it is meant to be. It is not about becoming perfect, but about becoming whole. And to become whole, you must have the courage to integrate all facets of your personality, including, and especially, those you would prefer to hide. This is where we meet our shadow. Your shadow, according to Jung, contains all the parts of you that you have judged unacceptable, unworthy, and that you have repressed into the cellars of your unconscious. Your excessive kindness, your inability to say no, were often just a strategy to keep this shadow under lock and key, for fear that it might displease others. But the path of individuation invites you to descend into this cellar, not to fight monsters, but to dialogue with exiled parts of yourself that hold immense strength. By ceasing to be constantly available to others, you become available to this part of yourself. You learn that your anger can be a compass, that your sadness can be a well of wisdom, and that setting your boundaries is not unkindness, but the greatest form of self-respect. You become your own guide on the path to your wholeness. When the inner revolution is underway, do not believe that it will remain a well-kept secret in the garden of your soul. Such a profound transformation inevitably propagates outward, like ripples on the surface of water after a stone has been cast. And the first consequence, the most tangible and often the most destabilizing, is the reorganization of your relational universe. By ceasing to be this infinitely available person, this social chameleon who adapts to everyone's colors, you become a mirror that reflects back to others, an image they are not always ready to see. Some, used to drawing on your energy without ever renewing it, will feel disoriented, even betrayed. You may hear the words, "You've changed," spoken as a reproach. You will be called selfish, distant. Understand this. Their reaction is not a measure of your worth, but a reflection of their own attachment to your old mask. They didn't necessarily love you, but the function you served in their lives. Consider this stage not as a loss, but as a process of purification. It is a natural and essential filter. Your new vibrational frequency, more authentic and more assertive, simply no longer resonates with relationships based on need, dependence, or superficial expectations. These ties, like dead leaves, will detach themselves effortlessly, simply because the sap that nourished them has changed nature. What remains are the true connections, those that withstand the shaking of your metamorphosis. These are the souls who love you for your essence, not for your utility. Beyond the reorganization of your outer world, the most intimate, the deepest benefit of choosing yourself is a feeling of liberation so vast that it is almost dizzying. Imagine having walked your whole life wearing incredibly heavy armor, forged by the fear of judgment, the need for validation, and the anxiety of disappointing others. Each yes spoken when your heart cried. No added a metal plate to this walking prison. Each forced smile tightened the bolts. And then, one day, you find the courage to remove a first piece, then another, and another. Liberation is not just an idea, It is a physical experience. You breathe more fully, your shoulders relax, you stand taller. By becoming your own point of reference, your own source of approval, the deafening noise of external opinions transforms into a distant whisper. You realize with staggering clarity that you need no one else to feel whole. This completeness, this fullness, is the true treasure. It is not arrogance, but quiet sovereignty. It is the state that Jungian psychology describes as the alignment between the ego and the self. Your conscious I no longer struggles to please the external world. It puts itself in service of your deep essence. And from this alignment is born a peace that nothing and no one can take away from you. When you begin to live in deep alignment with your true nature, an almost magical phenomenon occurs. Carl Jung, fascinated by the mysteries that connect our psyche to the world, gave a name to this phenomenon: synchronicity. The universe, which perhaps previously seemed indifferent, even hostile, begins to conspire in your favor. This is not an illusion, but a direct consequence of your alignment. Your inner world and the outer world enter into resonance. Meaningful coincidences multiply. You think of someone, and they call you. You seek the answer to a question, and it appears in a book you open at random. An opportunity you never dared to imagine presents itself at your door, brought by a chance encounter. Think of it as if you were a musical note. For years you tried to vibrate at the wrong frequency, to fit into a score that wasn't yours, creating constant dissonance. Now that you dare to play your own note, pure and authentic, you attract all the instruments that vibrate in harmony with it. Life ceases to be a struggle against the current. You become the current. Events unfold with a new fluidity. The right people appear at the right time. Doors open. Synchronicity is the language through which the universe whispers to you. Keep going. You are exactly where you are meant to be. It is the ultimate sign that your inner revolution has finally brought you home. That sensitivity that you may have long cursed, that permeability to the world that exhausted you so much, was never your weakness. It was proof of your depth. It was not a design flaw, but your soul's extraordinarily fine alarm system faithfully signaling to you that you were living a life that was no longer commensurate with your spirit. What seemed like a fracture was actually an opening, a breach through which your true light could finally begin to shine. You are not fixing yourself, you are revealing yourself. If this message resonated with you, know that you are not alone on this path. It is a path that many sensitive and deep souls walk in silence. Subscribe to continue this journey together, and so we can further explore the territories of our inner world. And so that we can recognize each other, like lighthouses in the night, simply comment below the affirmation: "Today, I choose myself." So, stop apologizing for taking up your own space. Stop dimming your light so as not to blind those who have chosen to keep their eyes closed. Your decision to no longer be constantly available to others is not a withdrawal from the world. It is your greatest contribution to it. For by becoming authentic, you silently give others permission to be authentic too. Your very existence, lived fully and without apology, is the most powerful invitation to awakening. Come home to yourself.